Yes, that text was real. Justin Baldoni's PR team did absolutely plot to bury Blake Lively, and the New York Times put it on the front page, and every entertainment outlet on earth ran with the story. And the world is supposed to end the story right there, with Baldoni as the abuser,
Blake choreographing and working with them and everybody. It was just, yeah, some of the most fulfilling moments on set was just watching them figure this out, and then I actually—
Blake Lively as the survivor, and the corrupt Hollywood machine exposed. But here is what they do not want you to look at. By April 2026, a federal judge had thrown out every single sexual harassment claim Blake Lively filed against Justin Baldoni. By May, she walked away from the lawsuit she filed with $0, and her own attorneys called the $0 settlement a, quote, resounding victory. In 18 months of legal warfare that burned through $60 million in attorney's fees, the only thing Hollywood actually exposed was Blake Lively herself. So if you have not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. Because what unfolded behind the scenes of It Ends With Us is one of the nastiest power imbalances modern Hollywood has ever produced. And the receipts are sitting in the federal court docket. The film itself was a phenomenon. It Ends With Us, adapted from Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel about a woman trapped in a cycle of domestic violence. Produced on a $25 million budget, it grossed about $350 million worldwide. Justin Baldoni, best known to most people as Raphael from Jane the Virgin, directed the film and co-starred. Blake Lively played the lead, and from the moment the cameras started rolling in 2023, the production was fractured. The WGA and SAG strikes hit mid-shoot, forcing a long hiatus. The slow dance scene that would later become the centerpiece of Lively's harassment complaint was filmed in May. Then in November 2023, when production was preparing to resume, Lively walked into Wayfarer Studios with a 17-point list of demands: an intimacy coordinator at all times, a closed set, a ban on improvised physical touch, an A-list stunt double for the violent scenes. Standard requests in isolation, but together, organized into a formal contract presented by a star executive producer. Baldoni's team would later argue this was something else entirely. They called it a narrative poison pill.
I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze, and in no way was I running them through my male brain. As much as I can try to see the world as a woman, I never—
A preemptive paper trail designed to lay the groundwork for harassment claims that had not yet been made. Then on January 4th, 2024, the ambush. Lively walked into a meeting with Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer CEO Jamie Heath, and brought Ryan Reynolds. He read prepared statements. He demanded Baldoni and Heath sign a public document accepting the blame for negative press around the production. They refused. But on January 19th, Wayfarer signed the 17-point list anyway. They needed the movie finished. And from that moment forward, Blake Lively was no longer a star on a film. She was a producer running it. The film released in August 2024, and the press tour. And you have to understand this part. The press tour is what started everything. Because Blake Lively did not promote a movie about domestic violence the way you would expect a serious actor to promote it. She promoted it like it was Mamma Mia. Grab your friends and wear your florals. She used the press tour to sell her hair care line. She pitched her Betty Buzz alcohol brand on the same red carpets where she was supposed to be raising awareness about intimate partner abuse. And TikTok turned on her in real time. Survivors of domestic violence posted videos crying about how dismissive the marketing felt. Reaction creators stitched her press junket clips next to the actual film clips. The backlash was viral. It was organic. It was brutal. And it was happening before any PR firm got involved. This is the part the "we can bury anyone" headline buries. Blake Lively's reputation problem was self-inflicted. The internet was already eating her alive. And that is when her camp made the catastrophic strategic decision to blame Justin Baldoni for it. That is when Baldoni's team panicked and made their own catastrophic decision. He hired Melissa Nathan, the CEO of TAGPR, and her subcontractor Jed Wallace, who runs Street Relations. Nathan quoted Baldoni's people $175,000 for a 3 to 4 month digital takedown campaign. Wallace charged another $25,000 a month for, in his own words, untraceable social media combat, Reddit manipulation, TikTok counter-narratives, fan engagement to push back against the organic backlash. And those text messages I read at the top of this video, those are real. Baldoni's publicist Jennifer Abel sent Nathan an admission that she was, quote, having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with. Nathan replied, same. Then Nathan added that she had already spoken off the record to a friend who was an editor at the Daily Mail. When the Daily Mail subsequently ran a headline asking, is Blake Lively set to be canceled? Abel texted Nathan, quote, wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece. So when Lively's legal team got those texts in Discovery, and when the New York Times ran them on December 21, 2024, under Megan Twohey's byline, Baldoni was finished overnight, reputationally anyway. And here is the thing. If the story ended right there, Blake Lively would have been the survivor. The narrative would have written itself. But the story does not end there. Because while Justin Baldoni was paying mercenaries 6 figures to crawl through Reddit, Blake Lively was operating an entirely different kind of operation. 3 months before the New York Times story dropped, her husband Ryan Reynolds was on the press tour for Deadpool and Wolverine, a $1.3 billion Marvel movie, and in that movie, there is a character. His name is Nice Pool. He has Justin Baldoni's signature man bun. He calls himself a male feminist. He inappropriately comments on Lady Deadpool's post-pregnancy body, and Lady Deadpool, of course, is played by Blake Lively. The character is credited in the script to a Gordon Reynolds, a name Blake Lively had thanked by name in the credits of It Ends With Us. Justin Baldoni's legal team filed a formal preservation letter with Disney and Marvel. Because if you are reading the situation honestly, what that means is this. Ryan Reynolds used a $1.3 billion global cinematic platform to publicly mock his wife's professional adversary. There is no PR firm on earth that can compete with that. Then the unsealed discovery dropped. There were emails between Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. They were forwarding Justin Baldoni's unauthorized cuts of the film to Matt Damon, to Ben Affleck. They were referring to Justin Baldoni's Baha'i faith. And I want to be specific about this because this is the kind of thing the New York Times never wrote about. They were privately referring to his religion as, quote, a cult. And let me put that into context. The Baha'i faith is one of the youngest and most peaceful religions on earth, founded in the 19th century, with a few million followers globally, centered on principles of unity and equality. Justin Baldoni grew up in it. His public charity work, his Man Enough podcast, the entire moral framework of his career, it all flows from that. And Hollywood's biggest power couple was sending around emails to Hollywood's other biggest power couple privately calling it a cult. Then there was Taylor Swift. Lively used Swift's song My Tears Ricochet as leverage in the marketing negotiation. Swift texted Lively that if Baldoni were strategically intelligent, he would reject the song, because accepting it gave Lively, quote, an ally and immense leverage. Baldoni's team eventually attempted to subpoena Swift. The subpoena was withdrawn under judicial pressure. The world's biggest pop star is, apparently, untouchable. And by the way, Colleen Hoover, the author who wrote the book, the woman whose entire intellectual property this was, she went silent. Caught between the financial gravity of Lively's star power and the directorial vision Baldoni had actually executed, she just disappeared from the conversation. That is what an A-list assault does. It does not just take out a target. It silences every adjacent person who might have spoken up. And then, April 2, 2026, United States District Judge Louis Lyman, Southern District of New York. He ruled. And what he did to Blake Lively's case is one of the most comprehensive judicial dismantlings of a celebrity lawsuit in recent memory. Of the 13 claims Blake Lively filed against Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios, Judge Lyman dismissed 10, including, and this is the line that matters, every single sexual harassment claim. Gone. He ruled Lively was not legally an employee under federal Title VII. She was an independent contractor whose own production company had exercised vast control over the work environment. The actor loan out agreement she had used to anchor her contractual demands? The judge found it had never been formally signed. The parties were still actively negotiating its terms long after filming began. Lyman ruled the agreement was unenforceable. The 17-point list, the document that started the entire war, was legally void. Of the original 13 claims, 3 survived. None of them were against Justin Baldoni personally. They were against Wayfarer the corporation, and Tag PR and Street Relations. Justin Baldoni, the man whose face had been on every magazine cover for 18 months as the alleged abuser, had been completely removed from the lawsuit. And by the way, Baldoni's own $400 million countersuit against Lively Reynolds and the New York Times had already been thrown out the previous June on First Amendment grounds. So at this point, neither side has a real case. Judge Lyman, in his own words, called the entire thing, quote, a feud between PR firms. 14 days before the May 18th trial date, Blake Lively settled. She dropped every remaining claim, every single one. The total amount of money she received from the lawsuit she filed, $0. Dismissed with prejudice, meaning she cannot refile. And the moment that settlement hit, two completely different versions of reality went out to the press. Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, said this, quote, let's be clear, this is a win and total victory for the Wayfarer parties. The court had already dismissed 10 of Ms. Lively's 13 claims, including every sexual harassment claim. Ms. Lively voluntarily dismissed the rest. End quote. That is the truth on the docket. Now here is what Blake Lively's lawyers told the press. They called the $0 settlement a, quote, resounding victory, because the joint statement included a sentence acknowledging that her concerns deserved to be heard. That was their press release. After 18 months, after the New York Times expose, after $60 million in combined legal fees, after the $400 million counter-demand, after Reynolds, after Swift, after the Nice Pool parody, after the Baha'i cult emails, after every sexual harassment claim got thrown out by a federal judge, Blake Lively walked away with no money and called it a victory. And then, just to make absolutely sure the audacity hit, on May 7th, 2 days after dropping the case, her lawyers filed a motion seeking to make Justin Baldoni pay her attorney's fees for the lawsuit she filed against him. That she lost. So here is where this entire ugly story actually lands. A film made for survivors of domestic violence, the kind of movie that should have moved a culture forward, got hijacked by two warring egos. Justin Baldoni hired mercenaries who typed the words, "We can bury anyone," in private texts. That is real. That is documented. That deserves the contempt it received. But Blake Lively had the New York Times. She had Ryan Reynolds. She had Taylor Swift. She had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on her email chain, mocking a man's religion. She had a $1.3 billion Marvel movie creating a parody character to humiliate her opponent. She had the most expensive litigation team in entertainment law. And in the end, a federal judge looked at every single piece of her evidence and threw out almost every claim she made. Justin Baldoni's people typed the words. Blake Lively was the one who actually owned the shovel. We have seen this exact movie before. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard was the same kind of A-list versus A-list power asymmetry war. The difference is that Depp versus Heard happened on live television, and the audience got to see the principals cross-examined in real time. Lively versus Baldoni was fought entirely through PR firms and planted articles, and that is the only reason Lively's narrative held for as long as it did. The audience that watched all of this unfold, they saw what Hollywood actually is when the cameras go off. A pay-to-play machine where the side with more A-list friends wins the press cycle, regardless of what the law says. Tell me what you think in the comments, and if you want to see exactly how deep this rot in the entertainment industry actually goes, far beyond one production, watch my full breakdown of Cat Williams' bombshell Hollywood allegations next. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next chapter. I'll see you in the next one.